Hello and welcome to episode number 7. Thank you for being here.
Kalimera. That's Greek, by the way, for good morning.
Kalimera. Oh, nice.
Yes.
Kalimera, everyone. If it's morning time for you. Yeah. So, wonder how is it applying the keys, the soul-based keys for freedom? We already have shared 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today is number 6. So, Byron, anything that you want to say before we go into key number 6?
Yes, actually, I was reflecting on key number 5, which was authenticity, and how nothing beats you. On the conversation of being exposed to just people of your age group for many, many years, and developing that sense of, well, am I as good as the other? This continuous competition, right? The aspect of maybe I'm not enough comes to the surface. And we discussed how, yes, you are enough in a previous episode. It leads to that idea that a lot of people develop this identity of, yeah, I'm damaged goods.
Hmm.
All the criticism that they get from their peers, the repeated harassment, and add to that, for example, if somebody has something that is different slightly from the norm, like for example, you stutter, or
Hmm.
you're the only white kid in a colored class, or the
Other
opposite,
way around.
yeah, the other way around, you're the only black kid in a white class, um, or you have a small handicap or something.
Hmm.
People will pick on it and they'll make fun of you because that's what children do.
Hmm.
And you develop this identity that, yeah, I'm damaged goods. I have this one flaw, but that means I'm not good as these other people.
Hmm.
And as you know, we already gave the path forward to that. However, I thought I'd bring that back onto the table so that people uh, can get out of this idea that there's something that they need to fix about themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I can corroborate on that topic from the therapist point of view. I've been working with so many people. It's 2 decades, over 2 decades of working with outstanding individuals that truly believe that there is really something wrong with them
Hmm.
because they were explicitly told so by authority, e.g., parents, teachers, maybe adults around them, or actually peers.
Hmm.
And what you say, Byron, is so true. These differences naturally get, and I say naturally get picked because it is encouraged to have this norm of almost everyone being the same, right?
Hmm.
So being different is kind of even dangerous, right? And
Yes.
the thing is that there is this great fear about being authentic. I mean, we go back to key number 5, which is authenticity. And when we are not encouraged to be authentic, then what we are encouraged is actually, no, let's go back to the keys, okay? We get encouraged actually not to be present to who we are. We are encouraged also not to listen to our intuition because it may be dangerous, right? We lose our equanimity because the mind gets into this chatter mode. Then we just lose the power of discernment because we are so engaged with that chatter. And then and these all these mind chat and all these distraction lead us to actually, now I can introduce key number 6, which is not being loved. Key number 6 is being loved. But then when we are disengaging from all of this, love cannot be there.
Hmm.
So the not being authentic can really truly lead us to not being our true self, which is actually love. And we're not talking about this lovey-dovey idea of love. It's our essence as soulful human beings who are source, it's love.
Yeah,
So
if I can jump in,
yes, go.
I'm glad you talked about the lovey-dovey aspect of that word. One of the reasons why I think a lot of people get automatically that response is because what 75% of all pop songs talk about love or relationships in one form or another.
Yeah.
Then there's so many love stories and movies, and there's always some kind of an amorous hook in most movies. So the mediaization of love makes it that people have this track of what they visibly see as love. However, here I think we're going right back to the basics of, if you are a soulful being and you are here to do good, you have to love yourself, you have to love others. You cannot be in fear, you cannot be in competition, because all of that inhibits compassion.
Mm.
You cannot be compassionate with others and want to help them and feel their pain and contribute and listen and so forth if you can't get into that space of love.
Mm.
So I'm glad you brought that up, that it's like it's not this lovey-dovey thing, because a lot of people would have heard that and, okay, I'm out of here. I don't want to listen to the rest of this. No,
Mm.
please stay tuned. This is a really important message if you're going to really embody your soulful self.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying that, Byron, because our nature is love. And there is this philosopher that I absolutely love. His name is Mr. Fuller, Richard
Mm,
Fuller Obaki.
mhm,
And he always said the essence of this universe is love. And love is the energy that basically makes everything work and holds everything together
mhm,
in our universe and so on and so forth. So that vibration of love is what sustains life. So then if because we are in this plane of reality where we experience duality, right? So you have love on one hand, and then you have what would be the opposite is fear. So then when we start seeing what actually spurs out of these two are quite contrasting scenarios, right? And going back to what you mentioned, Byron, about in the previous episode about how humans get conditioned, and you use the word indoctrination, which I totally agree. It's the perfect word for expressing what we go through. There's nothing wrong about it. Not right, not wrong. It's just it is what it is. If we say whether we were conscious, unconscious about this process of the indoctrination, and even as parents, because I mean we're children of parents who actually willingly placed us on this game of indoctrination because they thought it was the best, and then we did the same with our children because we thought it was the best. There's nothing wrong with that. It's an
mm.
experience. It's just that it's an experience. So, what can we get out of that experience? What can you get out of that experience? And remember, there's always choice. And look, key number 6, it's about you embodying that love that you are. Be loved. That's why it says be loved. And the tagline is choose wisely. There you go.
Mm,
Right?
yes.
Choose wisely. Because at any given moment of time, you always have choice. This is power. Choice is power. You can exercise that power. So, and in order to exercise that power of choice, you gotta have equanimity. You see how all these keys work together?
Mm,
Because remember, and I invite you to just recall a time in your life, perhaps not so far from now, right? When you chose something, but say you were upset or you were stressed. In other words, you were under the influence of the ego structure. And perhaps you had this mind chatter going on and you made a choice.
mm,
So then just make pause, in the video to reflect upon what was the result. What did you experience after that choice? Byron, you can relate to this. I can relate to this.
100%.
Right? And then after you made the post, come back. Thank you for coming back. And then also reflect upon the time when you made a choice based on the resonance of love. You being a loving human being. Very likely you will be very present. You will have equanimity in your mind. You will tune into your intuition so you can have good discernment. Then good discernment leads you to good choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in that, you were fully authentic. So the result of that choice, pretty sure, was quite different to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is an invitation for all of us to exercise more and more being our authentic selves, which is we are soulful soul beings. And what does this have to do with being an entrepreneur, with business, with being a leader? But think about this. What difference can you make in your current reality when you start choosing from being your authentic self, which is love? And as Byron mentioned, it's not about the lovey-dovey love, right? Look at this container. Well, the moment it has water. So think about this container, you being a container. You can either choose to be filled up with love, and the opposite is what, Byron?
Fear.
Yes.
I mean, some people will argue against that and say, no, the opposite of love is hate. But hate is an expression of fear.
Yes.
So let's not be too stuck on the terminology. It's definitely a negative energy. It's a negative feeling. It is something opposite. So for you, the listener, if you hear love and you say the opposite is fear for you, fine. If you think it's hate, it's fine. We just want to make sure you can contrast and see what the opposite is and see that nothing great gets created out of fear or hate. In fact, let's just be very pragmatic about this. None of us would be on this plane of existence if somebody didn't create from a space of love. Our parents wouldn't have gotten married, they wouldn't have had intercourse, we wouldn't have been created as this human seed and brought into this world. And okay, so being born is one thing, but can you imagine the amount of love a parent needs to express on a daily basis, not to kill that irritating little piece of noise and pooing and, right? It takes a lot of love to keep a child alive for the first 3 months of its life. So I just want you to come back to just a really basic concept. You need love to create. You cannot create anything useful or relevant from the space of fear or hate. And I know it's a long-winded way to come back to what Giselle was mentioning about you as the entrepreneur. How do you use this concept in your business? Clearly, if you have employees that are working for you, if you have partners, if you have suppliers, the reason you maintain them is not just because of the monetary advantages you get from them. You maintain them because ultimately you love them. You are in that space of love. And it's by creating that energy of love that you create that ecosystem where people do want to interact with you. So this is what it boils down to. I'll leave it there because I think we could unpack this for a lot longer, and also the danger of overwhelming people with too many great ideas in one shot.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned about the amount of love that is required for a parent to raise a child. And if the case was for you to have been raised not by your own parents, perhaps by an auntie, an uncle, maybe even a complete stranger that became your parent, right? In the case of a foster child, a foster parent, or even by your community, it requires love, and that is so powerful. Each one of us have different paths, and our souls have chosen those paths. I mean, think about this. Your soul pre-designs, and you are part of that process. And then when you are here alive and kicking in this incarnation, then you do the other half through your own free will. It's a partnership. That's why we call this a soul partnership. Yeah. And think about your creation. You may have created the time space to be engaged in a corporation working with other people, or maybe you are in your entrepreneurship. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are playing. You always have this, the power of choice. That's why you got to choose wisely. Yeah, and apply all these soul-based keys. We are pretty sure that these will lead you to a good harbor, because we are sailing through life anyway. Yeah. We all are in this together. And that's why also Byron and myself, we decided, okay, so we're gonna do this podcast in this video so we can communicate, we can share good news. This is good news. We are constantly bombarded by so many things that are nothing but love, right? So Byron, my dear Romano, and myself said, okay, we're gonna do something differently.
Yes.
So having said that, okay, today Byron will get to pick a card. Soul and ego message for you. Okay.
Do we still have enough time to do this?
Oh yes, just one.
Just one. Okay. So when you're ready.
Okay, here we go. You pick.
Go.
Okay. Oh, talk about love. Always the messages are so precise. Look at this. Look. You know, what do you see here?
Oh, exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The parent nurturing the baby.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna start reading the ego's message. And always look at the image. The image, when I was in the process of downloading these cards, my soul explained that the picture, the image, it's very important. So please take a good look at this. You can actually pause the video and then ponder upon this. And highly encourage you to take notes. Take notes, because in that process, something would just click. And it says, this is what ego says. As the master of the seed, I will do my best to put you against who gave you life. Wow. This is like, your mother made mistakes, and because of them, the mistakes, you may have suffered. My game is to keep you in the loop of suffering by mentally recreating or simply remembering her mistakes, or simply by making you block her and disengage from her, because she is a source of blessings. Oh my gosh, I'm reading this and it gives me chills all over. I will repeat this part. So, of course, your mother made mistakes, and perhaps because of them, you may have suffered. My game is to keep you in the loop of suffering by mentally recreating or simply remembering her mistakes, or simply by making you block her and disengage from her, because she is a source of blessings in your life. I will tell you, you have forgiven her when you have not. or I will ensure you just don't let go. You choose. Again, choose. Yeah. Deep breath. Right. It's all good. And this is what Saul says. Saul says, beloved, like any mother, your mother wasn't born a mother. On her path, she made mistakes as well as she created wonderful opportunities for you. To quietly or unconsciously continuing to reject her for her mistakes is like keeping yourself tied up, tied to a reality you do not wish to experience in your life. She is as human as you are. Embrace your mother and know that she is and all that she's not. Open up to receive her blessings and live with more joy, ease, grace, and abundance. Let go. They're beautiful messages.
Very relevant. Very, very relevant. I mean, if anything on this planet exemplifies love in its most selfless state, it's definitely a mother and a child.
Yeah, yeah. Oh. That's beautiful. It's just simply beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much else I want to add to that. I mean, that was a fantastic way to end today's episode.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Byron. And a reflection for you, our wonderful viewer, is just think about how your love can transform things. Just the same way a mother can really impact the life of her child. We're not dismissing fathers, okay? However, we're talking about a mother because it holds creation in her. And the same way you hold your own creation, whether if it's your own business, whether it's the job that you're doing, it's your creation. So how can you expand that love? That love that you are into your creation. Look at you, look at yourself. I mean, you are the result of love. You have everything. You need to do everything that you came to do into this world. You are just wholesome and complete. There's nothing wrong with you because you are essence. You are pure love. You are that source human form. So how can there be anything wrong about you? So our invitation is to go ahead and just thrive, right, Byron?
Yes, 100%. We need more people to be thriving.
Yeah. Just be that love. That creates freedom. However, you gotta really do this, okay? Choose wisely. And to choose wisely, you can apply all these keys. Okay? So we'll see you on the next episode and look forward to reading your comments and thank you for sharing the video, liking and subscribing. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else, Byron, before we go?
Nothing for today's episode. We'll update you on our travel plans for this July.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much, guys. We'll see you. Bye bye.
Kalispera!
Thank you.